Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! NYU! And Indiana wins the ball game! And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Throw game for the win! Tyrese! The terror! Don't you open your mouth about that! You talk them through the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, gift stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine life, jet flying, son of a gun! Taylor's gone! Jonathan Taylor! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy!
Not a game. We talking about practice.
I'm never taking a vaccine to anybody and don't plan on starting now. Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now! Pretty simple, I win.
But there's no doubt about it, yeah, you mean Gene Okerlund. You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios
Welcome
for
to
another
Indiana
day of
Sports
the
Beat
Hard
Radio,
Truth.
brought to you
Let's
by
get
the
rid
Hard
of
Truth
that.
Distilling
Hey,
Company
sorry
in
about
Brown
that.
County, Indiana.
Bad. We don't want to hear that again. Hope everyone's having a good start to the middle of the week. As we have hit Wednesday, it's all downhill from here. Don't worry. Another great show on tap. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette will join us. Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star. We're going to revisit that Danville Brebeuf game. That now there's a complaint been filed, but by Danville, but to the IHSAA. But good luck with that. That's like filing something to the NCAA. Rick Bozich, of course, the captain, joins us as well today. Also, how about the World Series, man? The Dodgers were on a freight train with a 3-0 lead as they headed into New York. And last night at Yankee Stadium, it became a home run derby. Holy cow, man. Home runs everywhere. How about Freddie Freeman? How do you hit home runs in 5, I think, straight World Series games, but yet you get upstaged big time by the Yankees, who just destroyed that ball last night? And are they back into the World Series? They're down 3-1 now. You never know. It's never happened, but we shall see. So we'll certainly find out. Appreciate everybody joining us here on the program, no matter how and where you're listening, and whether on your our friends from down on the river in the southwest portion of the state on 97.7 ESPN, the Ref, always the right call, or up in the region on the voice of the region, WJOB, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. And in Fort Wayne, on Fort Wayne's sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it tuned right here for continued sports coverage throughout the day for your journey, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing. And, of course, here from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, if you're following on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and notifications toggle and hit the like button while you're at it. Give us some love. How about a little love? People are hitting up the Andy Moore Honda hotline. And good to see that, Tyrone, from down in Jeffersonville. And, soccer, Indiana soccer, clinching a share of the regular season Big Ten title. And that's pretty big this season because they had to fight back. This was not their standard start to a season. They had some adversity, a lot of ties, and yet, and did I see it correct that Ohio State is ranked number 1 in the country? Is that right? I haven't had time to look that up, but another outstanding job done by truly one of the best coaches in all of college athletics. I say this to him all the time, Todd Yeagley. He's one of my absolute favorite coaches. He is a winner. You don't do what he does. He's not doing this with the transfer portal. He's not doing it with NIL. Year in, year out, this program started by his father, carried on, and has carried on, championship caliber program, year in, year out for decades, and not with the portal people, with a mix of players that come from elsewhere, but also from this direct region. It's astonishing, the job that he does. I'm telling you, it is absolutely amazing. Congratulations. They got a win last night, which gave them at least a share of that. And I assume that is a done deal. Share it with Ohio State, as I think they were also playing. But appreciate everybody hitting us up this morning with the comments. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Looking over at them, trying to see if there's any questions. Brian asked for the hard truth bourbon at his local liquor store. They only had the vodka and the rum. There you go, Brian. And as soon as you get that, send a picture of that in. I'm telling you, I'm got to get a collection of those, and then I'm gonna pull out a winner, and we're gonna have a surprise winner there. But I know Gritty has had sent something in from the Hard Truth. So, and Matt Allen, I don't know if Matt's with us today or not, but I know he went on an ATV tour not too long ago. But appreciate it very much, people. And so there we go. There you go, Justin. It is always a great day when you get blessed with another one. That's a great saying, to be honest with you. I kind of like that. May have to work that in. Jimmy Hoy up in Grand Rapids. Appreciate everybody. How do you keep pitching to Freeman, Brad Nix? That's a great question, because the dude is just on. He's just otherworldly right now. I mean, he's hitting the ball like it's a beach ball. And then Aaron Judge kind of fell out of his slump a little bit. He has not been swinging the bat all that well. But he came alive at the right time. The Yankee bats, which had been, pretty sleep. And how about, oh my goodness, how about the dude in right field? It's the first base side deep into right field. That the foul ball goes, it did not go into the stands. That the catch was being made outside of the, what do you want to call, the retaining wall. And because afterwards they're all trying to point, oh, he came into our space. No, he didn't. This dude grabs the right fielder's glove arm. He grabs the glove literally and doesn't stop. I'm like, he did not stop until he pried it apart, reached in, grabbed the ball, and pulled it out. And then his friend at one point was kind of putting his hand over there to push the fielder's other hand away. And I'm like, that's the most brazen thing I've ever seen. And it's kind of funny in a way, but not, because that was actually in the field of play first and foremost. If you want to, it sucks, but if you want to avoid that, just put a damn net up. Separate the people. That's, treat them like, if they're going to act like animals, treat them like animals. But that was wild. Certainly I mean, on one hand, you could say, hey, he's a Yankees fan. He was helping his team out, which there's some humor there. But I don't know. Michael down in Terre Haute, appreciate you, brother. But yeah, that was funny. It was something, man. I've never seen anything like it. What's going through your mind? Oh yeah, way worse than Bartman. He felt horrible. He didn't realize that he had screwed that deal up. This guy was all in. And you have to know in this day and age that you've got 14 cameras on you. He left in handcuffs. They didn't show that, I don't think. I wish they would have. They should have. They need to show that to show you what happens when you become that brazen. That's a little too far over the line, man. Too far over the line. Number 8 AP, top 25 teams this week. 8 of them are off. That's a lot. So you will not see Texas. You will not see Notre Dame, BYU, Alabama, LSU, Washington State, Colorado, or Missouri play this week. Now, that doesn't mean much for, say, Indiana. As I look through those teams, there's not going to be any movement in front of them. No one's going to move the vaulted Notre Dame Irish, because remember, they were so good. They lost at home to Northern Illinois, who just lost to Ball State. I'm just not going to stop banging on that one. That's it. And it's nothing to do with Indiana. I can't stand the hypocrisy of how this stuff goes. I've always felt that way. I don't care who the other teams are that are being maligned. It's always been this way. Notre Dame is not deserving of being in the damn top 10. How can you be in the top 10 with a loss to Northern Illinois at home? At home. Ridiculous. It's not rigged. It's just this mindset. It's a mindset of people of, first of all, I wish I had a term for it. Stargazing, whatever. But yeah, that's that. Does Indiana football have to beat Ohio State to get into the college football? Speaking of which, does Indiana football have to beat Ohio State to get into the college football playoffs? I've gone back and forth with that. And it's not because in any other year, because there's been so much scrutiny on their schedule, they will not play a top 25 team the entire season except for Ohio State. Now, Nebraska has been in and out. I think Washington was in and out. And that's it. Everyone else on their schedule in the Big Ten, Michigan was in and out. Ohio State will be the only team. But who was Navy playing? Who was Army playing that's been so good in beating? And I don't mean to pick on them, but it's we'll see. IU football was a 6.5 point favorite, only a 6.5 point favorite at home against Washington. They go on the road and they're a 7.5 point favorite at Michigan State. A little odd. Now, does that have something to do with Curtis Rourke? Very much so. If he gets to play, that changes everything for me. That adds at least 10 points to me, at least, in my opinion. But, what do I know? What do I know? Hey, I'm going to take a pause for the cause from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios and make sure you visit Hard Truth. Visit Hard Truth today, as we'll be right back. Of course, this segment brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry as well. Dylan Sinn joins us in the first segment. Coming up right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So, no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. There he is. What's up?
How are we doing?
Oh, I can't complain. How are you doing, man?
Not bad. Not bad. Ready to roll.
There we go.
All right.
How's everything going?
Oh, great. Great. Absolutely. It's high school basketball preview season, so we're rolling with that.
High school basketball preview season.
And then it's college basketball preview season starting on Friday for us. So
nobody cares about college basketball around here. What are you talking about?
That's right.
I saw the Athletic came out with their top 25 yesterday about college basketball, which I found to be a little funny because at number 10 they had Tennessee and at number 20 they had Indiana, and I'm like, I guess they didn't catch the game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's tough because you don't know what substitution patterns these coaches are using.
Oh, I know, but still, that's a pretty wide.
It is, yeah.
Especially when you have the opportunity to see it.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. I just remember I'm scarred by last year when Purdue played Arkansas in an exhibition game, and Arkansas went all out to try to win the game, and Purdue didn't, and Arkansas won and then missed the tournament. I thought that was but within 6 months, Eric Musselman was gone.
It was funny at the Big Ten Media Days this year. I just missed that he went to USC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's why the Arkansas job was open for Calipari.
Makes sense. All right. We've got about 15 seconds.
Are you doing your own producing today, Jim?
Yeah, done. And boy, don't I hate it. Just during the show. I don't have not afterwards. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Homes Pro Teams by Cheryl Sizemore.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this beautiful Wednesday. I don't know how beautiful it really is. I haven't been outside. It looks like it might be. It's the fall. The fall weather's been pretty cool. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette joining me now, man. Even up in Fort Wayne, it's been okay, right?
It is beautiful here right now. It's supposed to be 75 degrees and sunny today. It is one of maybe the last really warm days of the year, so we're looking forward to that. It is going to be it is very nice here.
Yeah, anytime you get one of those Chamber of Commerce days in late October, you start wondering, like, is this it? Is this the last one? Yep. Because there will be a last one. And the funny thing is, it doesn't happen. It never happens at a nice drawdown, where it goes from 78 to 74 to 72. No, it's going to go from 74 to 49. Boom. As a high one day. That's just how we get it, it seems like.
Absolutely. And then you start getting those nights where it's like 29 degrees in the middle of the night and 60 degrees during the day. And it's like, you can feel it coming. Everyone knows it's coming. Everyone batting down the hatches.
You can feel the electricity. A little stolen line there from The Rock. But yeah, it's man, it's weird because Dylan, normally this time we're kind of plodding through football and to kind of get to basketball. Not so fast, my friend, because that is not the case now. As a matter of fact, I am giving basketball the big Heisman stiff arm right now. I could care less. I couldn't care less about the start of basketball, and that has nothing to do with basketball. It has been a blast to cover a team that is winning like Indiana, that has never won like this. And I'm sorry, but there is no comparison to this. Yeah, I was not around for the Rose Bowl team, so I'm sure that brought an unbelievable amount of excitement. But even with that, there was not social media. There was not all of this stuff that goes on. There was not College Game Day. There was not a Pat McAfee. There was not all of the things that Indiana, and there damn sure was not a Curt Cignetti, who also adds to this, because you can't swing a dead cat without seeing Curt Cignetti on a program. Yesterday, I think he was on with Rich Eisen. It's so much. I'm getting Cignetti lash. I've got to tell you, it's they can't get enough of him. And first of all, recruiting. All I'm thinking about is recruiting. Is what in the world is this going to do? Well, I know what the hell it's going to do for Indiana's recruiting. What's Indiana going to be like when he gets talent in here, Dylan? He's got 44 players on his roster that had 0 stars coming out of high school. That is not going to be the case for long.
No, I don't think so. And that was the plan coming in. Like, the reason that he did what he did this year with the win now, with bringing in all these 1-year transfers, was because the plan was, we're going to win, we're going to build excitement, and then the recruits are going to come so we can build a foundation. Right? Like, if you take a super, super glass half empty view of this season, you can say, well, it's going to be hard to repeat because all these guys are leaving because they were 1-year guys. Right? But that was the plan all along, because he wanted to get the excitement going first so he could juice recruiting, so he could build a foundation after people were excited about it. Right? That was the plan.
Are you telling me that Curt Cignetti knows what he's doing?
It's possible. We're looking into it. We have our top men looking into whether he knows what he's doing.
Have you Googled it?
I have, and there were several results. I do think that is part of it. Is that the plan that he had for recruiting specifically is also working, right? And it hasn't paid dividends quite yet. We haven't seen a ton of, like, a rash of commitments, right? I do think that's coming relatively soon. I think that Indiana is going to add some guys probably at the end of the cycle here, before signing day, that people are going to be pretty excited about. And then I do think that what they're doing this year is going to help in the transfer portal this offseason, because Cignetti has already said it, that they are going to go heavy in the transfer portal again this offseason. Now, maybe this year they go with more like 2 or 3 year guys in the portal, right? Like, kind of like that, like, you don't want to talk about basketball, but kind of like the basketball team did, where you get guys like Kanan Carlisle and Miles Rice out of the portal. For football, it's like D'Angelo Pons, right? Guys who are going to be here for several years. And you go and you start building that way, right? Because I've said it before, that's high school recruiting by another name, right? Get a guy who played 1 year or 2 years in another school and has several years of eligibility left. That's high school recruiting by another name. And so they're going to go into the portal this offseason. They're going to have a lot of momentum when they do it. And I do think that was the plan all along, because you want to get people excited first and then really start building the foundation with guys that have a ton of talent. That plan is working right now. It's kind of exciting to think about, not just now, but the future of Indiana football. And I think that is kind of what Curt Cignetti was selling when he got here. And so far it's paid off.
Absolutely. And I can't imagine that he had all of this in mind. But and his ability to speak things into reality are a little mind-boggling, to be honest with you. Last year, when he goes and meets the Big Ten network guys, had him on during the Big Ten championship because he had just gotten hired, and he's like, "Well, I assume I figured I might as well come up here and get and have a look around or whatever because we're going to be playing in this game next year." Again, that's kind of a little Lee Corso-esque. He to think like that. I'm like, wait, how are you even thinking that? First of all, just because if it was me, and I'm going on to the Big Ten set and all that, I'm thinking there's going to be so many things in my mind. No, not him. His mind does not move, does not change. It is what it is. His belief system is what it is. And for people to think that that's an act, it's not. Now, is some of it contrived? Absolutely. Does he do some of it on purpose? I'm sure. I've learned that quickly. He's not arrogant. I'll tell you this. A lot of what he does is with purpose. He's confident, but why shouldn't he be? Look at what the hell he's done. Everything he said he was going to do, and the things he said he was going to do are impossible because it's at a place where it's impossible. Nobody could do it. No one's been able to do it. It has been tried over and over by Sam White, by Cam Cameron, by Jerry DiNardo. Not that Bill Mallory didn't have a run of success. It wasn't this. No one has done this. And in this era where teams like Ohio State and Michigan had grown into behemoths, changed. I mean, this was not like programs in the 60s where you may have had some better players, but it's still not on this crazy, outlandish separation where it is now. But yet, right now, Dylan, I'm telling you, I think Indiana, with Curtis Rourke healthy, is better than Ohio State, and I think that they go 12-0, as brash as that sounds.
I can absolutely see it. I was not impressed by Ohio State against Nebraska on Saturday. I went back and watched that game. That they were the better team, but I don't think by much. And quite frankly, they were a little bit lucky to win. And Ohio State all year to me has just underachieved just a little bit. You look at them on paper. I thought before the season that Ohio State was essentially going to be 2019 LSU. I thought they were just going to roll through people and kind of steamroll into the playoff and have a chance to win when they played Georgia and teams like that. And it just hasn't been that for this team. The parts don't fit together the way they should, I feel like. And then on top of that, they're having offensive line issues. They lost their left tackle and to an injury, and their backup is not up to snuff. They don't really have much depth there. And so I do think that is a genuine, it is an exhaust port in the Death Star for this team. And so we will see when those teams play, if Curtis Rourke is healthy and they can move the ball on this team. I am fascinated to see what Ohio State's offense does against this IU defense, because they're going to move the ball. They've moved the ball all year, but is it going to be enough if Indiana is scoring points? Because if you turn Mikhail Kamara loose on that Ohio State offensive line, are they going to be able to stop him off the edge? I don't know the answer, which is crazy to say about a guy who, as you said, was a 0-star recruit.
Yeah, it's been a blast to watch, but I think that this is great for college football as much as so many of these, whether don't you have an AP vote?
I do have an AP vote. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot, which I think I know these are available, but how are the votes accessed where people can actually see how people vote?
If you go to if you Google AP poll, but AP poll by voter, you'll be able to find a list of who voted in which way, and you can go to the football poll or the basketball poll, and it will show like, okay, here's the list of voters and here's how they voted, and then the full poll to compare.
I'm gonna name names. Just out of curiosity, where did you have Indiana in your most recent poll?
I had them 7th. I struggled with them versus Miami at 6 and 7. I put Miami at 6 right now, and Indiana at 7. That could change if Miami blows one here, which they seem on the verge of doing just about every week. So, but that is where I have them currently.
And I think that is appropriate. There is no way on God's green earth that first of all, this deal with Notre Dame just drives me nuts as a reporter, as a sports fan. What in the hell is anybody thinking putting Notre Dame in the top 10? They lost at home to Northern Illinois. I could stop right there, but I'm not going to, because Northern Illinois just lost to the powerhouse that are the Cardinals of Ball State. So no, that loss does not look better now.
No, absolutely. What's driving Notre Dame up is I think I have Notre Dame 11th. What's driving Notre Dame up is their win over Texas A&M, which right now is leading the SEC. Is the only undefeated team in SEC play, which just beat LSU by 2 touchdowns. That's driving them up. And Notre Dame just had a big win over Navy. They had big wins over Louisville and Georgia Tech and Stanford. So they've played much better. I think you can make the case that Riley Leonard was hurt for that game against NIU, and I think the committee is going to give them a little bit of grace there. My position all along on Notre Dame has been, if you go 11-1, you're probably in the playoff. If you go 10-2, you're probably out. That has been my position all along. I think that still stands. They're going to have a chance to win another ranked game against Army in a couple of weeks, because Army is probably going to be 9-0 when they face Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium in November, which is going to be honestly a blast to watch. And then they're going to face USC at the end of the season. So they'll have chances. I do think it's one of those things where the Northern Illinois game at least costs them the chance to host. They're not going to host a game. I think they're probably going to finish, if they go 11-1, probably somewhere around 9th or 10th would be my guess, unless crazy chaos happens in front of them. So yeah, I would say that that's where I am with Notre Dame. I think that IU right now deserves to be ranked higher. And quite frankly, despite the fact that they're not in the AP poll, I think IU is going to, if they beat Michigan State this weekend, IU is probably going to be ranked higher than Notre Dame in the first college football playoff rankings that come out next week. That would be my guess.
That's what matters. And
that's what matters. That will be my guess. I firmly believe that. So we will see. Obviously, happy Michigan State this weekend. Got to get that done, right?
Oh, absolutely. They have to win every game. There's no joke about that.
No, not at all. And so I do think if they win that game and they go on the road and they beat another team that is at least competent, they're gonna be ahead of Notre Dame in the first college football playoff poll.
Here's the ironic thing. For a decade or more, Indiana played season in, season out, a top 5 difficult schedule of difficulty. Yep. They played Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State. When Michigan State was good, they would either get Wisconsin or Iowa. They would open the season for 5 out of 7 seasons. They opened the season against a Big Ten opponent named either Ohio State, Penn State, or Iowa. So I'm like, you know what? Shut it. I was going through numbers last night for a story, and it's astonishing. I wish I had the time to create some kind of metric to where you take the ranking in all of these different categories that Indiana is so highly ranked in. And they are highly ranked on both sides. Nationally, I'm talking. They are, to me, they're still the leading scoring team along with Miami in the country. It's 0.2 of a point difference and that happened only because of last week's 31-point performance instead of their normal output with Curtis Rourke. So I'm like, yeah, they're still the same to me. So I'm counting that. Defensively, 7th overall scoring defense in the country, people.
Yeah.
They run the ball. They have one of the top running games in the country. They have the most efficient passer in the country. But here's the kicker. Even their punting game, which has only been used 15 times, which is the 4th least in all of Division I, is 4th. I think I had them, was it 4th in net punting? Where is it? 14th in net punting at over 43 yards a kick. And it is fourth. They are fourth, but they only allow 11 yards on the returns. So everything. They are a complete team, and that's what I think a lot of people miss. It's not just this high-scoring offense. They're kicking ass on defense. Yeah. The defense controlled that game last week. The defense set the tone in that win and took pressure off of Taven Jackson and the offense last week with, or I actually should say, D'Angelo Pons, the nation's defensive player of the week, by the way, in addition to the Big Ten player of the week with his 2 picks and one with a pick 6. Indiana, they've got a defensive lineman, Tyreek, who is grading out as one of the top linemen. They're defense from the line backwards. Aiden Fisher, the linebacker, they're just solid. Their passing game, I thought, was the weakness. They're 24th in the country in yardage allowed. I'm like, damn. So I was doing a thing for the Michigan State rival site yesterday, and he asked some of these questions, where's something they need to shore up, or they have weaknesses. And I'm like, I don't want to sound like Kurt Cignetti, but no, I can't find a weakness in this team. Do you see one?
Yeah, there are relative weaknesses, like things that are not quite as good. Like you talked about the pass defense. They've been prone to give up some big plays, but most of that is a result of being really aggressive. They get up the field, they blitz, they try to put pressure on the quarterback, and they're going to get some sacks, and they're going to give up some yards because of it. But down to down, they've been really good. I think if you want to point to a weakness, I guess you could say that it's like short yardage running, I guess. Like they are not automatic on third and 2, right? Like, but
third down conversions. Let me look that one up, because there's another one where they are
I know they're
third nationally, Dylan.
Yeah. They're very, very good in third and medium and third and long, and they're less good, I guess, in third and short is the idea here. Like that's the closest I have for you, right? Their kicking game, not the punting, but the place kicking has not been super tested. But I think Radicic is fine. It's hard to come up with something that really scares you about this team. Like when we talk about Ohio State's offensive line being the exhaust port on the Death Star, I don't think Indiana has one of those, right? And yeah, there's some places where they're less talented. I think. I don't think there's any place that you could really call a weak link and say, hey, boy, I wish we had a couple more players there that could do something. There's not really a place on the team where you can say that, right? And so I do think that that's something that's really impressive about this roster is just the balanced nature. I mean, you talked about special teams. You didn't even mention Miles Price's game-sealing punt return last week. Like they're good on the return game too.
Punt return, yes.
Yeah.
It's so much stuff. It's hard to get it all. I mean, they are a complete team, but I think it comes down to things that we've heard people like Urban Meyer say, and others like him, whether it's Nick Saban, that this Urban Meyer, I was on with Dan Dockich yesterday, and I'd mentioned that we had the opportunity to interview Urban. I know that they're good friends. Dan said that they had dinner that night, but Urban Meyer is strict and he told Dan this. Indiana is the best coached team in America that he has seen. That's coming from a national championship coach, Urban Meyer. I don't care what you think about him. The dude can coach football. He won wherever he went. He's a big timer. He knows what he's talking about, and that's what you have in your coach right there, Indiana fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that bears out. Like they don't commit that many penalties. They don't do and they don't do things that are going to put you behind the chains. When there is an issue that is happening, the few times this year where they have had a couple drives in a row that didn't work, or the defense gave up a couple scores, they come up with solutions on the fly. I think they're really good at that. And they're disciplined on the edge. They're not like Price's return was set up by some really good blocking. A couple of those blocks, if you look on replay, could easily have been blocks in the back, but the blockers kind of shifted themselves to make sure that that didn't happen. It's little things like that it's little things like that that really make it clear how good this coaching staff is at the finer details. And I think that is what is really taken this that's what's really taken this roster that has no holes in general and made it into a complete unit.
And we've gone a little long here, but I've got to ask you about, because we don't talk about them anymore with good reason. What the hell is Purdue going to do? I mean, they are at without question, a crossroads in their program. Ryan Walters has, to me, been shown to not be the guy. He had no head coaching experience prior to this, right?
No.
There's no way in hell in this day and age, I think you can bring in a coach, not at this level, a coach that does not have head coaching experience. You better have experience in the portal. You better have experience with being the head guy in regards to NIL and all of that. And you better have head coaching experience, period. So I cannot, if Purdue sticks with Ryan Walters, I understand because of money, they're only going to go further down. They're losing recruits. They're losing commitments. So it's not getting better. It's not going to get better. What does Purdue do with Ryan Walters and the mess that they have right now?
Yeah, there's been reporting that he is going to get another year at least. What their plan is they basically think that he was not given enough support in NIL, and they're going to give him some more going forward. We'll see. I'm skeptical about that. Not that I'm skeptical they're going to give him more support, but I'm skeptical that that's the problem. They lost two of their top players from last season's team in Nick Scorton and Deion Burks to transfer. That's tough, right? But they did bring in some high-level transfers this offseason, guys that were highly thought of. It was a top 30 transfer class. And it just hasn't worked, right? He made the wrong offensive coordinator hire to start. I think that's fair to say. Graham Harrell was not the correct choice. And I will say that he's going to get another chance to make it a second offensive coordinator hire this offseason. I think that is going to make or break his tenure because there are guys that could come in, and I think there is enough talent on that offensive roster for Purdue that a good offensive coordinator could do something with it. And we'll see. But I think the bigger problem is that the defensive system that he brought with him from Illinois that was so good at Illinois. It really was. It worked very, very well. But it seems like it needs NFL talent to be really successful. And they had NFL talent when he was there at Illinois, as crazy as that is to say. They had Sidney Brown and they had all these guys. And so does that work when you have less talent? And I don't know that the answer that we've seen is very positive so far. So he's going to get a chance to turn it around. We'll see. I'm skeptical. I'll be honest with you.
Well, we've got to take a quick pause for the cause from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. You just heard the hard truth on Big Ten football with Indiana and Purdue, but we'll take a break. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me here in the studios. Well, he's not in the studios, but we're coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, and we'll be back with more of it. This segment brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East, where tomorrow night you can find Inside Indiana Football with Don Fisher and Kurt Cignetti. Back right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. We'll return to the Hard Truth Studios for more with Jim Coyle right after these messages.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio is brought to you by the fine folks at the Hard Truth Distilling Company, including Big Woods Restaurants and Quaffon Beers. You can find their great products in your area. If not, ask for Hard Truth. Their great products like their Hard Road Rye, Sweet Mash Bourbon, or the Toasted Coconut Rum. Ask for the Hard Truth. Ooh, this next one will be a kind of a short one.
All right.
So we'll just talk some hoops. There's not much to talk about. So
talk some exhibition stuff.
Well, yeah, because I'm telling you, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to have to put it in writing because no one will ever remember it, and it's not just because of this loss the other day. I've said it before the season started. Purdue is not going to be what these people think. I don't care. I don't care that they have Braden Smith. Braden Smith is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but he is not a player that can dominate at the upper echelon of Division I without some big help. And big help is gone.
My guy had 31 points and 7 rebounds against Creighton.
Right, but he's not going to be able to do this alone. He's not going to be able to do it like Cignetti changed the game.
Sure.
And where Braden Smith is definitely a difference maker. They don't have the pieces that you don't have. When you lose what they lost in Cignetti, you're going to have to. The only way they could replace that is money balling in the aggregate.
They think they have, by the way. Like that's they
of course they do. But what else are they going to say?
Yeah.
Of course they think that they do.
Because I think they're going to be fine. I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten. I think they're going to be fine. So we'll see.
Let's see here.
Actually, I take that back. They might win the Big Ten. I wouldn't take them versus the field, but they might have the best odds.
I wouldn't take them up against the top 3. All right. Here we go.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. This segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. This segment brought to you by the Rusty Gator down in Bedford, Indiana. When you're coming in for a game or up for a game from Southern Indiana, stop in and visit. A great place where oceanic flavors meet Southern charm. The Rusty Gator in Bedford, and they also have live music on weekends as well. So cool deal. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me now, and lots always going on up in the Fort Wayne area. We don't have a lot of time before we have to break because we went so long in that last segment, but there was so much to talk about. Anything big happening up in and what is Fort Wayne? Do they have a name like, Circle City for Indianapolis, Derby City, Louisville, Queen City?
We are the Summit City.
Okay, I'm going to have to ask, since Fort Wayne is in one of the flattest areas of the world, where the hell does the word summit come from?
Yeah, you guys can Google that. How about that?
Yeah, I guess I'll have to. That would be not. I did not have that on my bingo card for a potential the founding city. I could get that, founding of the NBA. So
there you go.
That would have been cool. But Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me, as he is each and every Wednesday. And basketball now. Indiana had an opening exhibition game down in Knoxville, which against number 12, AP number 12, Tennessee. I saw that the Athletic came out with their preseason poll yesterday. They had Tennessee at number 10, Indiana at number 20. And I'm like, did you guys not happen to catch that game down in Knoxville the other day? Which I know it's an exhibition game, but still, it gives you an understanding of things. Purdue, who did they lose to?
Creighton up there.
That's not exactly a horrible loss, but they lose to Creighton in the break. We were talking about Braden Smith, and Dylan mentioned he had 31 points, a great outing, which he's going to get his if you let him for certain. But I don't think Purdue has enough around him to be they're going to win, and they're going to be an NCAA tournament team. Do not get me wrong. And they're going to fight in the Big Ten. I think that they're going to be a top 4 team. I do not think that they win the league. And I do not think that they're probably a top 25 team. I don't know. And maybe top 20. I don't think they're a top 15 team personally.
Here's what I'll say about that is that Matt Painter believes that they are a very good team, and the reason why we know that
wouldn't he?
Well, the reason why we know he believes that is because he scheduled incredibly difficult in the non-conference for him. He has said that there are times where you know that you have a team that it's going to need to grow into being okay, and you schedule a little bit easier for them so they can kind of get their feet under them. This year, he has given them a very, very difficult non-conference schedule with a bunch of top teams because he believes that they can handle it, and he wants to see them put up against the best teams in the country. And so, like, yeah, a coach believes his team is going to be good. News at 5, right? But I do think that Matt Painter is self-aware enough to know when his team doesn't quite have it at the beginning of the season, and schedules accordingly, right? And I do think that what you can see a window into his mind through the way they scheduled this. And so he thinks they're going to be very good. Now, that he might be wrong. The coaches are wrong all the time. But in his mind, they have the depth and the pieces around Braden Smith to really make this thing go. I do think some of the freshmen are going to be household names in the Big Ten by the end of the season. I think you're going to know the names of Jakari Harris and CJ Cox and Daniel Jacobson. Sorry, not Daniel Richardson. That's different. Daniel Jacobson. You're going to know those guys by the end of the season, even if you don't now. And so I think that in terms of not having the pieces around them, those guys are going to be pieces for this team. True freshmen who are not super highly recruited are going to be significant pieces for this Purdue team and help them along the way. And I do think that's where a lot of the production is going to come from that people are not expecting is, well, okay, who do they have? Well, they have Braden Smith and they have Fletcher Lawyer and then Trey Kaufman-Wren and then everything else is pretty much up in the air. No, they have those 3 guys and they have a bunch of guys who they believe are going to be pretty good players. Some of them might be very good, quite frankly. So we'll see. I do think that I would, if you're asking me who wins the Big Ten, I wouldn't take Purdue versus the field, but I might give Purdue the best individual odds. I do like Indiana a lot. Don't get me wrong. I like Indiana a lot. I want to see the offense first. And we saw a little bit of it against Tennessee. I want to see more. So we'll see.
Yeah, because that's a very curious thing as to what that's going to be. I did not expect to see Umar Ballo play 30 minutes. I can promise you that. I also did not expect to see Umar Ballo play 30 minutes and score 6 points, which, again, I guess you can chalk it up to first game. I don't know. But if you're going to run small ball, where was the small ball? There definitely wasn't much of that. I thought, or I think that Luke Goody is going to be one of those pieces that is kind of undervalued right now, but maybe that takes a minute to get going because the dude has winning culture in his DNA now after having played on Big Ten championship teams. He's a Fort Wayne guy, related to Trent Green. He's got the DNA in him.
Absolutely. And I think that was one of the things that kind of bogged the offense down a little bit against Tennessee was that he had some open looks from 3 and didn't make them. Those will go in as the season goes on. I know there are some people panicking about that. Those threes are going to go in. He's a good shooter. He'll make his shots. And that will make the whole offense look even better. And the thing is, he's going to get his shots because Indiana has a real live point guard creator in Miles Rice. Like, that dude is so fast and just really, really good at distributing the basketball. And I do think that, yes, it's just one exhibition game, right? That dude is good. I think we can call it at this point that dude is going to be a real player for Indiana in the mold of I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Yogi Ferrell, but I'm saying that he is that type of player that is going to distribute the ball and can also provide some scoring punch. And I do think that's a guy that IU hasn't really had, except for basically that, like, a little bit of Jalen Hood-Schifino at the end of the season when he was really firing on all cylinders, and then Xavier Johnson at the end of Mike Woodson's first season when he just went basically beast mode for a month and was averaging like 15 points and 9 assists or whatever it was. Like, it's not something that IU has had a lot, and I do think that that's going to be a huge piece of this team, is just a guy who can get everyone their shots.
Absolutely. What's up next for you, my friend?
Yep, I'm working on college basketball previews. Though several of those will be out coming this weekend and next week. I will not be at the Michigan State game this Saturday, unfortunately, but I will be down in Indianapolis on Saturday. We have teams in the girls' state soccer finals, so very excited about that. And then obviously football Friday night. It's playoff season for high school football.
It is. Did you happen to see the Danville Brebeuf ending?
I did. Boy, howdy. What a mess. I'm still not sure. So they threw a flag. Everyone's mad they threw a flag. I'm still not sure what the flag was for. I would like to know. I think a lot of people would like to know.
Basically illegal participation. Some of the guys came onto the field right there when they were celebrating what they thought was but
my goodness.
We'll talk about that more next week. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Appreciate you, my friend. And be a subscriber for those of you in the Fort Wayne area. Keep local papers alive. Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Hey, my pleasure. We've got lots more coming up. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star will join us next, and we'll talk more about that game in addition to the Indiana high school playoffs when we return to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington. We'll return to the Hard Truth studios for more with Jim Coyle right after these messages.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their Cinnamon Vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So, no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Man, it's hot in here, peoples. It's hot up in her. Dang. Got the lights. Got the lights on. All right. Let's see. Bam, boom, Bigelow. Hey, for those of you, well, all of you are listening right now on YouTube. If while you're not doing anything and just sitting here looking at me or listening to me, do me a huge favor. We'd greatly appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button, because 60% of our listeners are not subscribed. It's mind-boggling. 60%. So please just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And the notifications toggle. That way you don't miss any of the content we put out, because we'll also put certain segments out during the day, interviews that we're able to pick up during the day, whether it's with IU players, coaches, or others along the way. So that way you don't miss a thing, and you get notified for the post-game shows that are coming up and all of that, as it's almost time for Indiana basketball post-game shows around the corner. Each week our football post-games have been rolling as well, and looking to add another surprise this week to the post-game show. Got to keep that one quiet. But speaking of which, and I got to remember to talk about this when we come back tomorrow on the program, the one, the only Pat Knight. The head coach of the Marion Knights will join us. And next week, even more surprises coming your way. Tuesday, Courtney Cronin from ESPN will join us. And on Wednesday, Derek Mobley, a name that may not be familiar to you, and I'm going to repeat all this. He's only the head of Monday Night Football, the director of Monday Night Football, an IU grad, no less. So got all kinds of great stuff coming your way. Hit the subscribe button and the like button. We would appreciate that. Let's see. I think it's already time for me to come back. All right, here we go.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. This segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Welcome
Well,
back to the Hard Truth Distilling
oh man,
Company.
I don't know how I did that, but I've hit it twice. But so nice. You hit it twice. Well, Reynolds Family Dentistry, appreciate our man Dr. J down in Sellersburg for our Southern Indiana listeners. You got to keep that championship smile, and he'll do it. Absolutely. It's where Todd Leary goes as well. So welcome back. Looking forward to talking to Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star, because I want to revisit the Brebeuf Danville playoff game last week. And I talked a little bit about it with Greg Rakestraw. I think he did that game. But now the in Indiana high school football, it's all about
playoffs. Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Place, man. I'm not.
Playoffs? No. Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
No, it's that time of year. But waiting for Kyle to join us. But that finish, if you have not, I don't care where you live, go read about this finish. It is nuts. It's more than improbable. It's next to impossible for the ending to play out the way it did in that game. I mean, you want to talk about, I don't think a movie script could have come up with an ending like this, because it's not believable. There is no way it's even believable. There's Kyle there. Kyle, I was just sitting here talking about, I hate to revisit it because we've got so much more to talk about, but the Danville Brebeuf game, and Danville files a complaint to the IHSAA, which I laugh. Good luck with that. But they probably should. I don't know. Nothing's going to happen. I mean, but I was just saying, Hollywood couldn't even write this script because it is absolutely not believable.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. All the twists and turns and things that happened and things that didn't happen. First of all, the miracle play by Brebeuf to tie the game and get that into overtime, and then get the 2-point conversion.
Quickly revisit, because you were there, right?
I was not, but I know enough now at this point to probably feel like I was there. But yeah, they were. I mean, Brebeuf had. Well, first of all, Danville was leading 36-35. They got an interception return for a touchdown in the last 30 seconds of the game. Now, if you look back, if the guy who intercepts the pass, the player who intercepts the pass, just goes down, the game's over. None of this happens. So
it's his fault. It's all his fault.
Yeah. Not that you expect a high school kid to do that necessarily, and still should have been a win. But so basically it comes down to 60-yard play. Brebeuf runs their sort of their miracle play, 3 laterals. The quarterback ends up with the ball, runs 42 yards. He's the last guy to pick up the lateral, and basically had a straight line through the middle of the field that ends up being a touchdown. So then they get the 2-point conversion, send the game to overtime, and then in overtime, Danville scores to go ahead, but doesn't get the extra point conversion, 2-point conversion. So they're ahead by 6. 4th and 6, Brebeuf, Geske, the quarterback, scrambles around, gets tackled. The ball kind of squirts loose, and this is where the problems really sort of arose. The ball kind of squirts loose, whether he's down or not, it depends on who you root for. The ball kind of gets loose, and as that happens, the players from Danville, several of them, run onto the field thinking the game's over and celebrating. Then the ball basically goes down, it's just covered basically, and the celebration continues. As all that's happening, the refs are huddling, and again, kind of depends who you talk to, but there is definitely. I talked to Danville's coach. I've been talking to him throughout the aftermath of this, and I did talk to Brebeuf athletic director yesterday, Ted Hampton, who I know well, and I know people on both sides of this, but it's kind of differing opinion on what actually happened. They felt like the game was over. Danville felt that way once the whistle blew and there was no flag thrown. And typically that's accurate, I would say. So the frustration, I think Brebeuf understands it too, because, the frustration of it, I think, because, hey, the flag wasn't on the field. It took about 2 minutes of real time before the officials decided Danville ran on the field too early and the play wasn't over. So then they dropped the flag. Brebeuf gets another chance and scores.
We see this all the time. How many times have we seen college games, especially, where it looks like the game's over? They're like, no, stop. Get everybody back off the field. They just get everybody back off the field because it's obviously a misunderstanding, but that is obvious. This should have been the same thing, in my opinion.
That's a valid argument, I would say. And, in the weirdness of how the ball kind of squirted loose, and that's what kind of led to the flag being thrown. Was it relevant to the play? No. Was it it wouldn't have changed anything. That's kind of where I come down on it too, I guess, is even if the play was still going, nothing happened. It wasn't like a Danville player ran out there and tackled the guy or recovered the ball or something. It was just they were on the field, probably 8 or 9 of them from what I could see, kind of ran on too early. So, Brebeuf made it again. They had to score on 4th down, and they did, and they had to get the 2-point conversion and did. So everything that kind of happened that, there were still opportunities for Danville to win and couldn't do it. But I think their point, Jamie Comer's point, is like, hey, at what point is the game over? We had already shaken hands. We'd already, done all these things. And then you're telling me the game's still, you could read all his quotes from yesterday. But I mean, yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I'm going to be, and from talking to Comer yesterday, it sounds like Danville, and he's not doing this, but some of the fans and parents are making up Danville won T-shirts, and they may be at the game Friday when Brebeuf plays Roncalli. So Roncalli may have an additional, cheering section from Danville when this game happens Friday. So and hopefully nothing dumb happens, from all that. But it is, I mean, you play these games and I think another frustration here was the referee, who was the white hat, had not been reffing this season. And there was an injury to the normal white hat that he wasn't able to work this game. And I think from, talking to Jamie, they felt like they knew this on Tuesday and didn't sort of adjust the lineup. This was we knew this was going to be, I had this ranked as the best game in the state going into the week. So you knew it's a big game. And he felt like this crew probably wasn't, it was kind of a thrown together crew because of that injury that, maybe they weren't, hadn't been up to snuff or, whatever, sharp to do this type of game. So I think that's where another frustration lies in all this. So, but yeah, it's it seems like, I don't know if, like you said at the top, I don't know what changes. Nothing. I'm, 99.9% sure. The
IHSAA doesn't get things right when they have time, and it has nothing to do with a quick decision like this. But yeah, nothing is going to change with this. And I get their frustration. What else? There's nothing else for them to do. But it goes on. It sucks for the seniors on that team. It really does. I would hate to be that, because I talked about this yesterday. Man, there are just some things that stick in your mind forever, especially if you're a competitor. There's stuff in my head from 35 years ago now that still drive me nuts. But it is what it is. So we'll move on.
I would say too, you just have, what if you're one of those kids who ran on you didn't do anything wrong. It's just, you thought the play was over. You saw the quarterback go down and you just ran and you reacted. So I feel for those guys too, who, it's just a natural reaction. Maybe
was there anybody else on the field besides just their players? Was there anyone else that happened to have wandered on the field would be my first question.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and again, I saw some of the replay. I saw somebody point out like the Brebeuf coach was a few yards out on the field, so but again, those are normal, it's not like those flags you see basketball coaches all the time. They're out on the court, when the play's on the other side of the field. So it's not like that's not that unusual. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to make that call, then you better do it for everybody, So it's just, it's like everything that could have happened wrong sort of happened wrong, unless you're Burbuff, I guess. But even then, as Jamie Comer pointed out yesterday, it kind of casts kind of a black cloud over Burbuff a little bit, just because and they didn't do anything wrong necessarily. It's just how the whole thing went down. But yeah, I don't know. And they, I would say they have a chance to win win this game Friday against Roncalli and move on. And the story will sort of continue, I guess. But yeah, I don't think anything will. In fairness to the IHSAA a little bit, I don't know what you can. I don't know if you can overturn it. It's just such a. The referees, I think, just made this decision. It's not like the IHSAA was making it in the moment. So but yeah, I don't know. I feel like they should probably issue some sort of statement, but haven't heard of that yet.
Yeah. Again, my response is good luck with that. But now we have to move on. Indiana high school football playoffs. Going through some of your games you've got listed to top 20. My Highlanders, Castle from down in the southwest part of the state, our listeners on 97.7 The Ref, 7-2. Castle taking on a 6-2 Floyd Central. So assuming Castle played a game last week already. And then the Highlanders, they're at Floyd Central, baby.
Well, Floyd Central probably had the there's a few teams that didn't finish those games the Lightning week, so I think that's probably why they have the one less game. I don't think anybody last week in 5A or 6A.
Right. No, you're right.
Played. So, but yeah, Castle's really good. I mean, they have a guy, Benny Patterson, he's a Cincinnati commit, but he's getting all kinds of other. I think he got LSU and some others defensive linemen for Castle. And they've only lost a couple of games. Both were against good teams, good 3A teams, Mater Dei and Memorial. And Castle's always good. There always seems like they're in the making a run into the tournament a lot of times and winning sectionals at the very least. So I'm sure that'll be a tough game down there in 5A. And 5A is a class where it's been the south half of 5A has kind of been wide open to the last couple of years anyway. And Whiteland and Decatur Central have been able to make runs from the south half of the bracket, and we'll see what happens this year. I think there's another chance for the winner of that sectional, and those teams play actually on Friday, Whiteland and Decatur, and then Plainfield's on the other side of that sectional 13 bracket. That's a real monster of a bracket. But yeah, I would say the winner of Floyd Central and Castle too. That team should win the sectional. So it's one of those sectionals where the semifinal could actually most likely be the championship game.
Let's go Highlanders. Also down in that area, Evansville Rights going up against Jasper in 4A. Evansville Rights won the regular season game. Then you've got Fort Wayne Snyder at Elkhart in 6A. 7-2 Fort Wayne Snyder. Elkhart 8-1. That looks like to be a good matchup.
Yeah, I think so. Elkhart, they don't play, they don't play a lot of 6A team. I don't think they play any 6A team. The one loss they had was to Concord, which is Concord's they've won all their games. So they're ranked number 1, I believe, in 5A. But so that's their only loss. They lost by 1 point, but again, didn't play. I think they did beat Penn. So they got a 1 6A team they played against. So, and Snyder's a team that, they were the 5A champions last year and moved up via the success factor. So, they've been a team but they have played in 6A before. They play mostly, or at least probably partially half the season against 6A teams. So, they're a program that's been, tested and has won at this level before. So, yeah, that should be a really good game in the north part of the bracket, and maybe that winner could end up. You're probably going to see Carroll next week. Carroll's very good too, and then I think Crown Point. Man, they're probably the Crown Point's probably the team to beat. They made the state finals last year. You could probably argue Westfield as well. That could be the matchup again if you look ahead to the semi-state. Crown Point and Westfield down the road, but. Long way to go still. I mean, some of these teams are going to get no doubt, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that Snyder Elkhart game could be a good one.
And all kinds of games. The Fighting Dan Dockages at Wheeler up in the 2A sectional. Evansville Wrights at Jasper, I just mentioned, and Fort Wayne and Elkhart. Evansville School's having a hell of a year. You've got Fort Wayne or Evansville Memorial 10-0, but they get a visit from Southridge, who's 8-2. That's another game that looks to be a top matchup. Western Boone is 8-2 at Lafayette Central Catholic. Let's see. Paoli 10-0 at Brownstown Central 10-0. Holy crap. That's a 2A game, but man, you got a couple of undefeated teams there.
Yeah, that should be a good one. Paoli probably hasn't played overall the schedule that Brownstown has, but yeah, that's a good one. You mentioned Evansville; those teams always good. Memorial, I think, could be the team to beat. Certainly they're tested by a really good schedule pretty much every year. So, they're legit and normally are. So yeah, there's a lot of good games out there. That sectional Memorial's in is absolutely loaded. You got Gibson Southern in there. Like you said, Southridge is in there. Mater Dei and Heritage Hills is on the other side of that bracket. Heritage Hills had to beat Gibson Southern last week. They beat them 35-18. But yeah, that sectional, if you can get through that one, you're really doing something. That's a loaded sectional in Class 3A.
You've got the defending state champion in Ben Davis, who currently stands at 4-5, taking on a 5-4 Pike team in sectional play. Man, this is probably not where Ben Davis expected to be right now.
No, although they have won 3 in a row. They were 1-5 at one point, and probably people writing them off. And then they have played a little bit. One of those wins was North Central, which has not had a win this year. But they beat Carmel, they beat LC, both pretty handily, and they're just a dangerous team. I don't think, and their one win they had in the first 6 weeks was a pretty much a blowout win over Pike, which was surprised me because Pike had been playing pretty well and has had a good season. So I don't know what to make of this game. It's hard to know. Pike's had a good year, but obviously there's a mental thing too with Ben Davis. They haven't had much success against them over the years. And Ben Davis, like I said, they're just a scary group because you got Mark Zachary, you got Elijah Price. They've got a sophomore quarterback who's been playing better. I'm not sure that's a team you want to see. Now Pike is kind of playing with house money a little bit, like I said, because they haven't won a lot of these type of games. But you'll have Brownsburg Avon, the winner of that, playing the winner of this Ben Davis Pike game next week, and that could be really interesting. If Ben Davis has kind of found their stride a little bit. That's probably not a team you want to see here in the next few weeks. But again, they're not as strong as they were last year. Definitely not as strong defensively. They graduated so many linebackers from that team last year and just key players. But again, they're super explosive. They can score on anybody, and they've been playing, like I said, playing a lot better here these last few weeks.
Looking forward to it. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star will have all of your IHSAA football playoff coverage with the Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow to keep up on it. Be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. Kyle, I cannot thank you enough, as always.
No problem. Thanks, Jim.
You betcha. We've got more coming up, of course, with the captain. Rick Bozich will join us next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio when we return right after this.
This segment is brought to you by The Ugly Grouper. We'll return to the Hard Truth Studios for more with Jim Coyle right after these messages.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Oh, well, if I was any better, I'd be Rick Bozich.
Did you go to Knoxville?
I did not. I was supposed to, and then I said, you know what? I can't do it. I cannot do 10 hours of driving on top of the 3 hours plus it would have taken to 4 hours to mess around with the game. And I'm like, yeah, nope. I'm going to East Lansing this Saturday.
You are going. When are you driving up? Friday night or Saturday?
Saturday, because don't they play Marion Friday night?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I've got
what is that from Bloomington? 4.5 hours? 5?
I think so. I think it's like 4.5. Let's see what
Mark going to play.
You know what? Unless Kurt Cignetti is, and he's not doing it, but they're pulling a little Tom Allen routine because it's all signs are leading back towards that. And at the end of the day, you know, it wasn't like he tore a ligament or something like that.
Right.
So we shall see. I hate self-producing.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to hit it though. Oh, get up to the top. And now we got to go back up here. Jeez. All right, I think it's been enough time. I guess we'll talk about basketball first.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33.
Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, bringing this segment to you back at the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Hi, atop Rick House number 1. Speaking of Rick House, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joins us. Rick, how are you doing, man? How has your week been?
It's been good. Enjoying the World Series, enjoying the college football season, enjoying the overlap with college basketball heating up. So, yeah, it's prime time of the year. Didn't enjoy that Bears loss, but that's okay.
The World Series looked to be over, and Freddie Freeman, first of all, how in the world do you get upstaged after hitting your fourth consecutive or fourth home run in 4 games? Actually, he did like 5. It's got 5, doesn't he, from a previous World Series or something?
6, I think it is altogether, back to the Braves.
How's that freaking possible? And then why in the hell are you pitching to this guy? But because he just seems to be, he's just on this magical heater. But then it turned into a home run derby, and the Yankees got into the party. But how about that dude that ripped the ball out of the was it Mookie Betts? I don't remember, but this guy had no quit in him. He was not going to give up. I'm like, you're an idiot, first of all, because there has to be 14 cameras just staring at you, and you're gone. I don't know if he got arrested. I did see that he left in handcuffs.
I don't know if he got arrested. He got ejected from the park, and I'm sure he's not going to be allowed back in Yankee Stadium ever again.
His kids won't be allowed back in Yankee Stadium.
I don't know about his entourage that was there with him, what happened, but yeah, I've never seen him like that where I want the Yankees to win, so I'm going to not only take the ball, I'm going to take your glove, and I'm going to rip off 2 of your fingers too.
That was one of the craziest things I have ever seen. But the Yankees, man, they blow that game open, and so they're hanging on. There's no if you look at history, they have no chance because they're still down 3-1 with a trip eventually coming back to Los Angeles. But it was fun, I'm telling you. And at first when Freddie Freeman hit that shot last night, I sent out a tweet and I'm like, I said, you have to be historic to upstage Shohei Ohtani in a World Series. And Freddie Freeman is historic. But then, boom, the Yankees came alive and changed all that. So that was definitely fun to see. College basketball is here. The regular season is not started, but I don't think that matters to many people as long as you have games that are being played. I don't think it matters what title you want to attach to them. Charity game, exhibition game, scrimmage, no one cares as long as they're being played. Indiana goes down to Knoxville and takes on 12th ranked Tennessee, gets a win on the road. First of all, Rick, that is something we did not see out of Indiana all of last year. And they as a matter of fact, for a couple seasons, they've been to Las Vegas to play Arizona. They've been to Kansas to play Kansas. They were at New York to play UConn, and Atlanta to play Auburn. And they were not able to handle any of these, but they go down and on an on-campus site, take on a Tennessee team and get a win. And that has to be a good sign for Hoosier fans and for Mike Woodson.
Yeah, I mean, and what was really a good sign is it looked like they're going to have their best point guard play since Yogi Ferrell was here. Miles Rice looks as good as advertised. He was terrific last year when he was at Washington State. People talk about how he was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, which he was, but more importantly, he got Washington State in the NCAA tournament, which doesn't happen all the time, and he helped their coach get a new job. So I think he's the real deal, and I think the most important stat from his line in that game was he had 0 turnovers. So that's quite an achievement for Miles Rice, and he was going against Zakai Ziegler. I'm sorry, who's one of the one of the best defensive players in the SEC. And Indiana won that game without Galloway and without Tucker and without Newton. So they played kind of shorthanded on the bench. Renew had a good game, hit a big 3 that Mike Woodson credited with, turning the game around. Ballo had a solid game. I guess Mbako was kind of slow in the first half, but turned it on in the second half. And Carlisle's the only one who didn't really play great. But I'm glad they played that game. It's good. You get the road trip experience out of the way. The new guys on the team learn how the coaching staff wants to handle road games. You learn how to bond together away from Assembly Hall, because now they don't play another road game now until the Big Ten, right? Because they're going to play. Other than the Bahamas, I don't think they have a road game, do they?
I don't think they play another road game until 2040, I think, sometime in the year 2040. No, every year you're gonna, and they're not alone in doing this, but this is when you pad that schedule, man. Every year Indiana used to be 12-2 before the Big Ten season got started. You can pile up those home wins against a lot of teams. South Carolina is the only I would guess about P4 team that's coming in, but that battle for Atlantis, that's no joke. First of all, you start off playing Louisville, who is a completely different team. Not only a different team, they look to be good. They did score a ton of points in their first game out. And for a completely new team to play that well together that quickly, that's a little scary.
Yeah, I've been to both exhibition games here downtown the last 2 Mondays. They scored over 100 the first game. They scored 99 on this Monday night. The first game they shot 56 threes, I think it was. The second one, they didn't shoot nearly as many. I think they only shot 21. They went inside more. What I really like about Louisville's team is they're very deep. He can go 9 or 10 deep. So you get a lot of different guys. You get fresh guys all the time. And B, they are going to push the pace. They want to go up and down, and they don't over dribble. They pass the ball. They move the ball really well. They're a lot different than the Louisville of the last couple of years. I think Indiana's advantage in that game will be that Louisville doesn't really have anybody with the bulk. I mean, Louisville didn't have anybody with the bulk to match up with Ballo or even Malik Monroe. Their big guys are all very skinny. And so I think the Indiana should have an ability to get to the rim. And Mbako's strong too. So those 3 guys should all be able to get to the rim.
Yeah, the surprise, I've said this a couple of times, but Umar Ballo played over 30 minutes in this game, which that was a surprise. I only expected to see him playing, roughly 23 minutes or so, but he was in there. But if they're going to play, and that also included Malik Renew being in there, if they're going to play that style, how is it going to be difficult for them to play a more up-tempo style? But with Miles Rice, he seems to be guiding that.
Yeah. And, Galloway will take some of those minutes, so you can chalk a few more minutes off different guys. I mean, I think it sounds like Woodson is open to the idea of having stretches of the game where either Renew or Ballo is on the bench, and you go with one big and four guys who are more perimeter or more comfortable on the perimeter. And if that's the case, those guys won't have to play 30-plus minutes. And if you're going to actually follow through on what you said of being a team that's more amenable to shooting three-point shots, that's one thing you're going to have to do.
Yeah, not a good game by either team shooting the ball. Tennessee was absolutely horrific at 31%. Right. Indiana, 42%. That's not going to win a lot of games. But if you have good defense and you're holding the other team down, yeah, maybe so. The three-point shooting was awful as well by Indiana, atrocious, 4 of 19 for 21%. Tennessee chucked it up 35 times, hitting it on 8 of those for 23%. Free throws, as far as percentages, pretty close. Turnovers not bad for an opening game, 13 and 15. So
I think they had 9 in the first half. They cut it way down in the second half.
Big difference there. And what did you see from this Indiana team? First of all, getting that win, that's big. Again, just showing from a confidence boosting standpoint. But what did you see from that team?
Well, this is what Mike Woodson's 4th year. It's probably the most talent he's had on the roster since he's been there. It's definitely the best backcourt he's had since he's been there. And I know they had a good one when they had Hood Schifino, but that was the year Xavier Johnson got hurt. So they went with Hood Schifino and Galloway. They've got Galloway now, who's probably going to be pushed to a reserve role and play with Carlisle and Rice and Cups, who played last year and got a lot of experience, will be the 4th or 5th guard. So you got depth and you've got talent at guard. I mean, Rice is just a game changer. If you look at him, he made those big plays down the stretch. He hit that big shot. He made some free throws. And he does a good job of what you want a point guard to do. And what Indiana hasn't had somebody who could really do it is he can beat his man off the dribble, force somebody to rotate on him, and find the open man. I mean, if they can find guys who can make three-point shots, and I know that we haven't mentioned Luke Goody. He had an uncharacteristically bad day. I think he was 0 for 5 and 0 for 3 from 3. But Rice will find him open for shots. So that's the biggest thing. I mean, Miles Rice to me is a game changer for Indiana.
Yeah, and I think Goody is going to. I think he's going to be a much more important piece than people think. Once if he gets going, because this guy he can shoot. He's got a winning DNA, and he might talk that in the last segment. He's relative of Trent Green. He's an athlete. He played on Big Ten championship teams at Illinois, and he's confident. He's kind of a leader, and I think it is just going to take him a minute to step into that role.
And he wants to be there, and he knows what Indiana basketball is all about. I mean, let's remember he was at Illinois, for 3 years or 4? I don't even know how many it was, at least 3. And he decided he wanted to finish his career at Indiana. And he knows growing up in the state, I think his dad played football at IU too, in addition to, his uncle. And he knows what it means to be an Indiana basketball player, and he wanted to be part of that. So I think he'll help instill that culture in the rest of the players.
Yeah, Justin says that Ziegler's projected to be one of the best point guards in the SEC. So
yes, he's really good. He's probably first team All SEC. And Rice outplayed.
Great job. Yep, and he held him to 2 of 10 shooting as well. So a good job there. Purdue loses their exhibition against Creighton, a good Creighton program. So that's not exactly a.
It was on the road too, right?
Yeah, so it's not like that's not this big deal. But I am not convinced that Purdue is what everybody else thinks. And it's nothing to do with any kind of bias. I just don't I don't think that they have Billy Bean there to fill Zach Edey's spot. And maybe they can fill it that way, but it's not just the numbers they have to fill. It's all the other things that Zach Edey brought. He was just just in the damn way all the time. And so that in and of itself is problematic. So now they're going to have to try to out-athlete people, which I don't know that they have the athletes to out-athlete everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Edey was a back-to-back National Player of the Year. I mean, so last year he was even better than he was the year before, and he has that wealth of experience, and he got calls, and he's a tremendous security blanket. If you really got to get a basket, you've got one of the best guys in the country to get that basket for you, and if he doesn't get the basket, he's going to go to the line. And he came through for him over and over again, and that's a big hole. So they're going, but Matt Painter is a good coach, and he knows they don't have Edie, and he knows they're going to have to do it a different way. And didn't Kaufman Wren have like over 20 in the exhibition game, which I don't remember him ever having over 20 last year.
I don't remember. I know that Braden Smith went off.
Braden Smith had 31, and I think Kaufman Wren had 22. And Painter, my respect for Purdue is respect for Painter. He's done it all different kinds of ways since he's been there. He'll find a way for them to be successful. He's still got depth, and he's got a lot of freshmen. And, who were the two young guys they had last year that played quite a bit at the end of the year?
Cam Heidi.
Yeah. And there was one other.
Yeah, daggone it. Gee whiz, I know who you're talking about. They've got good players on the team, and they've got experience.
Lawyer and Braden Smith they've started now this will be their third year. I mean, and they're not going to be as good as they were, but they're still good. I voted them, I think, 14th or 15th in the AP poll, and I think they'll be that good.
We'll certainly find out. Basketball season still a little bit down the road. Indiana takes on Pat Knights. Marion Knights on Friday. Pat will be with us tomorrow, for those of you, if I haven't reminded you yet. Yeah, Pat on the schedule to join us here tomorrow. Make sure you tune in for that. But kind of a unique, very unique situation that is going to be as Pat Knight comes back to Assembly Hall as a coach.
I think it's a great thing because Pat Knight is the closest family member to Bob Knight. And Pat Knight was very instrumental in ensuring that his father came back to Assembly Hall when most people thought it was never going to happen. And it shows that, there is a relationship between the Knights and IU, and there should be. And for him to bring his team in there, he'll get a tremendous, tremendous ovation. I'm sure they'll have a video montage of a lot of Bob Knight's greatest moments, and some respect will be paid to him. It's only the 1 year anniversary of his death has been recently, right? And so,
well, it comes up. I think it's in November, right?
Okay, but I don't remember. It's right around this time of year, but it's who they should be playing. If you're going to play an exhibition game and Pat Knight's taken over at Marion, Steve Downing's the athletic director, you should play a team. You should play those guys and let them come to Assembly Hall. And for the kids on that team, who I imagine are a lot of Indiana kids, that'll be something they'll remember the rest of their life, just like Monday night Louisville played Spalding University, and most of the kids on that team are former Louisville high school players, and that's a memory they'll have the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. And not only that, it is just going to be it's a good moment for the Indiana basketball family because they're still bringing all that back together. It was the fractured beyond repair for so long. And when you have programs, a blue blood program like that, you cannot have the head of the snake cut off. It has to be a part of the body. And I think that has been reattached, and that is great to see. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to having Pat on tomorrow. We've got to take a break. The great Rick Bozich from WDRB.com with us. We got more to talk about. Football, college football is on the docket again this Saturday. Lots of big games. Ohio State taking on Penn State, a big-time game in not only the Big Ten, but in the talks for the college football playoffs. When we come back, brought to you by our good friends from Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Yeah, Kaufman Wren had 22 points and 8 rebounds. And the two young guys are Miles Colvin and Cam Heidi.
There you go. Yeah, Miles Colvin is who I could not.
Caleb First didn't do anything. Whew. 0 points, 1 rebound.
He still hasn't done.
He's gone backwards.
That's kind of his whole career.
Yeah, I don't know who they started 2 guys I never heard of. Will Berg. Do you know him?
Wilberg. That's the big 7-footer.
Oh. Jacari, Gicarri Harris. Don't know that one. Is he a freshman?
Man, what is the temperature today? Oh.
Will Berg is a 7'2" sophomore from Stockholm, Sweden.
Wilberg.
They keep finding these. It's unbelievable. They got another guy who's let's see. They got Daniel Jacobson, who's 7'4".
Yeah, well, I think they all weigh about $180, so good luck with that.
He weighs 230, and what's Will Berg weigh? 260.
Let's see.
I think they play Northern Kentucky the first game.
Let me throw this in real quick.
Well, Purdue's got an exhibition tonight.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio is brought to you by the fine folks at the Hard Truth Distilling Company, including Big Woods Restaurants and Quaffon Beers. You can find their great products in your area. If not, ask for Hard Truth. Their great products like their Hard Road Rye, Sweet Mash Bourbon, or the Toasted Coconut Rum. Ask for the Hard Truth.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Rick Bozich, the captain from WDRB.com, joins us now, and it has been a fantastic college football season, especially for the Indiana Hoosier fans. It has been a storybook season. It's just an incredible thing that, Rick, I said this earlier, you cannot swing a dead cat without hitting a TV show, a sports show, an article, a website. I don't care what you want to say, that Kurt Cignetti is not on right now. He might be, if the election wasn't going on, he might be getting more national attention than any other single American.
I can't argue with you, man. I mean, he was on Rich Eisen. Was that yesterday? I watched that interview every Monday night. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck mentioned him. Saturday was a 3-hour infomercial for Indiana University and IU football. You couldn't pay enough money to get publicity and advertising like that.
I wish that I could get in someone to try to quantify that number, because it is gigantic, people. You're talking about an audience that had millions, I think over like 2.6 million in the last hour, and it's to this demo group of 18 to 24-year-olds who a lot of which are going to be college students, a lot of which are college, but they're going to be college students. When people talk about why is football so important? Why are sports so important? This is why. There is nothing that Indiana's, as great as the Kelly School is, there is nothing the Kelly School can put out that will ever even touch the toe of this. There's nothing that can be put out that gets you the attention that this does. Now there are so many kids that like, I want to go there.
I agree. And then the stuff that was said about him on the show, and not just by, Joe Blow. That's Nick Saban saying that stuff about Kurt Cignetti and IU. That's Kirk Herbstreit saying it. That's Lee Corso coming back in just a fantastic moment of him coming back to the school that he worked at for 10 years. It's Pat McAfee doing it on the show and then doing it on his TV show nearly every day. I mean,
and then posting about it.
Yeah, and that's more. They've gotten more positive national publicity about football in the last week than they've probably gotten. Well, Tom Allen had it going there for a while, but other than that, over the last 10 or 15 years, I mean, and even Allen didn't get game day there, and some of that success he had in his big year was muted because it was COVID. Nobody was in the stands, but it's just social media and talk radio and everything else. And I know there's a group of people out there who are waiting for them to get beat and say, oh, they're really not that good. But the vast majority of the assessment of it is, if you took a blind resume test and you took the name Indiana off what they've achieved this year, they would be ranked higher than they are. If Michigan had this Indiana team's achievements and started the poll ranked 8th or 10th instead of not even getting any vote, this team would be ranked in the top 3 or 4 in the country because they've won every game by 2 touchdowns, and they've never been behind. That hasn't been done, in like 24 years? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I was going through a bunch of numbers yesterday for a story, Rick, and I just started there. I'm like, wait a minute. I wish that I could devise a formula and either just average it out or add points, because I'm like, Indiana is in every stinking category. I don't care what category it is. If it's rushing offensively or if it's rushing defensively. Even their punting unit, which has barely seen the field 15 times, James Evans has made an appearance, they're 4th nationally in net punting average. They do everything right, and that's just been amazing because it hasn't changed. Now, everyone's going to talk about the schedule, and that's a bunch of crap, but they'll get their chance. I think that they're a better team than Ohio State now, especially after you use the Nebraska back-to-back weeks as a comparison. Ohio State has some problems on their offensive line, and I don't know that their receiving core is as dynamic as Indiana's. I don't think that their running game is, as a whole, is as good as Indiana's, and I'm not sure their defense is as good as Indiana's. We'll find out. That environment is a great equalizer, but I truly think that Indiana has a hell of a shot at going 12-0, and I don't think that they're going to need it. I keep waffling on this as far as making it into the college football playoffs. It kind of depends on what some other teams do, because if the committee is giving an opportunity, I think that they would push Indiana out in lieu of a Notre Dame team that lost at home to Northern Illinois, who lost to Ball State last weekend.
I noticed that. This is a key. I mean, they need to win this game this week because that gets them to 9-0 when the first rankings come out, and we'll see what the committee, how they judge them and how much they do count them down for the schedule. But you can. I know I saw Sagarin has their schedule ranked number 100 in the country, and you can say whatever you want, but it did. And some of the skepticism even I had was taken away when I saw, wait a minute, they just beat Nebraska 56-7, and Nebraska's leading Ohio State and in Columbus in the 4th quarter.
1 week later.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And they played Indiana coming off of a bye.
I know. I'm aware. That's significant to me. They come out the next week and play a Washington team, which not great, but they'll probably be bowl eligible with the backup quarterback. And they beat them by running the ball, by returning a punt and getting an interception. And the key stat from that game, I think not enough people talk about, is 1 penalty for 5 yards. They played clean, well-coached football. So, I mean, they've done it every way. As I said, if Clemson or Florida State or Penn State or USC had the same achievements as the Indiana team have, they'd be ranked among the top 3 teams in the country, because it's Indiana and they haven't been good for a long time and they weren't ranked before the season. People still at the highest levels of forming college football opinion are skeptical of it, and so they're going to have to keep winning. And I'm sure that Cignetti is making that point to his players. There's still people out there that don't think this is sustainable, and for all the quote rat poison, there is still the other side of that of people waiting for them to fail. There are.
Kurt Cignetti now calls them the what is he? I just heard him talk about
He
it. It was on.
Yeah, he used
Rich
it on
Eisen even.
Eisen, yeah.
The good,
warm and fuzzy,
feelings, warm and fuzzies.
fuzzies.
Yeah, he calls them the warm and fuzzies.
Right.
So yeah, he came up with his own deal. Yeah, if people look at the Big Ten, there are already 5 teams that are bowl eligible with 4 games yet to play. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more that are just 1 game away from bowl eligibility. Then there are 5 more that are only 2 games away from being bowl eligible. So say what you will, there's the parity is just, I don't know if it's being recognized by everybody right now, but the parity in college football is here. And my question is, what's Indiana going to be like when Kurt Cignetti gets 4- and 5-star guy talent on his roster instead of 44 guys that had 0 stars coming out of high school?
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, because I think he's going to be able to get better level recruits, and he should be able to get some good guys out of the portal. Going back to the comparative thing, Penn State's another one. Penn State played UCLA at home, beat them by 16. Indiana beat them by more in the Rose Bowl. Their big wins against Southern Cal. Southern Cal's really not that good, are they? I mean, have they lost like 3 or 4 games?
Oh, they're USC is, Purdue is dead last. UCLA is just above them. Then you have Northwestern, Rutgers, Maryland, and USC at 2 and 4 in the Big Ten Conference. But they're one of those teams that's two wins from bowl eligibility, so they could still wind up in a bowl game.
Yeah, Oregon went to UCLA and beat them by 21. What Indiana beat them by?
1,000.
29. So I mean, you can argue this any way you want to, but if you're really, I think they deserve to be ranked higher than they are.
The thing that cracks me up is people, when they're comparing, like to Penn State, to Oregon, to Ohio State, well, Indiana would just blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, I don't think I think these teams are all in a group. There's a group of 4, and I don't think Indiana's any less than any of those 3. I'm not saying that they will beat all 3 of them or any of the 3, but they're in that group. There's just no way when you're this deep into a season, and the proof is in the pudding. You've shown it week in, week out. You haven't made mistakes. You're scoring. You're 0.2 of a point off of still leading the nation in scoring after coming off of a week with your backup quarterback that only put up 31 points. So they're still rolling. They are so much better than people give them credit for. This defense, the offensive line is not getting the credit. That's a unit that has been unbelievable. Rick, they give up less than a sack a game.
And it's hard to believe, because how many years have we railed about the offensive line on this program? Many.
They were a sack machine.
Yeah. And it's a lot of the same guys back from last year, but Kadich came back and has really gotten better, and he's the leader of the group. Bray Lynch has developed. It's his 3rd year from Austin, Texas. He's really good at guard. They got Wedig, the kid from Wisconsin. Carter Smith, 2nd year at IU, or 3rd year maybe. He's 2nd year of eligibility. He's really good. It's the best offensive line they've probably had since back to the days when they had Spriggs and Sweeney, or Feeney early in the Kevin Wilson era.
Absolutely. What's up next for you, man?
I'll be home this weekend watching football. I'll watch the IU game, and then Louisville plays at Clemson on Saturday night.
That's a big game. Big game for Louisville. Make or break game for Louisville, but they can also have a say in the college football playoffs. Because that would not bode well for Clemson.
Right. And Kentucky's at Tennessee. Kentucky's already lost 5, and unless they can upset Tennessee and or Texas, they're their streak of, I think it's 8 straight years of going to bowl games is going to come to an end.
They've been an enigma. That team. You go to Ole Miss and you beat Lane Kiffin and the Rebels in Oxford, and then you lose at home to South Carolina. You lose at home to
Vanderbilt.
Did they lose to Vanderbilt? Yeah,
and Auburn. They got run off the field by Auburn Saturday night. Some kid ran for over 250 yards, I think it was. I mean, they've been the last 2 games. Florida and Auburn have torched them on defense, and those aren't 2 of the better teams in the SEC. So there's a lot of grumbling in Lexington about a losing season with a coach making
$9 million.
Yes, that's correct. And IU, Michigan State's on Peacock. I guess I'm going to have to get a Peacock subscription.
There you go. Rick Bozich, our captain from WDOB.com. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you as always.
Right. Have a great week.
You betcha. And you as well. We've got a great show tomorrow on tap. Make sure you're here with us because besides the usual Coach Griffith, Bob Kravitz, Chris Denary, Pat Knight will join us tomorrow as his Marion Knights come in to Simon Scott Assembly Hall on Friday. For the first time, a Knight will be on the other bench. Appreciate everybody for joining us here on the program today. Big thanks to Dylan Sinn, of course, Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star, and Rick Bozich. Most importantly, to each and every one of you, until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.